Tucked away in the sleepy village, Washington Old Hall is perhaps best known as being the ancestral home of George Washington's family. But staff at the hall say it's not just tourists that visit the property's historic rooms.
Here in the panelled room where we're sitting, we understand there's a lady in a rocking chair, and when we had some ghost investigators in one night, for no apparent reason the door slammed shut, and no matter how windy it gets outside, the door just does never move. So that was quite a good and frightening thing. I think they were very scared. On the staircase we have children, young children, and we often hear what sounds like jumping down steps, the way you would expect children to come downstairs rather than coming one at a time, the jump in blocks. And my colleagues and I often hear that. And in the bedroom upstairs we have a man and a woman who are from different periods, and to the best information we've had so far about them is they don't get on, but to date I've not found any broken china or anything else in there. The children on the staircase apparently, and I really have no evidence, but apparently there was a fire at some point in the hall when the hall was a tenement, and it was a tenement from 1860 until 1936, and there was a fire at some point. Somebody has said that children did die in that fire, but I have never found any evidence of that, so I can't really confirm that. And as for the ghosts, we don't know who they are. We have no names attached to them, so I can't say that they belong to any one particular person who lived here.
Apparently all our ghosts are friendly. We have no nasty ghosts. I don't think we've ever felt scared. You get a laugh sometimes out of the ghost hunters who come, mind, if you switch the lights off quick and give them a fright. You see people move very fast out of rooms, but nothing to frighten you here, really. It's a nice atmosphere of the house. The property's got a lived-in atmosphere, so it's not. I don't think you feel intimidated. Mind saying that when you look up one night or open up one night, it's pitch black. You might start to get a bit. You can't get the key in the lock, but apart from that, it's not a frightening house.
My other colleague, well, actually she doesn't work for us now, but she was frightened once by somebody touching her back when she was standing in the room, and that really shook her. In fact, she turned grey, to be honest. But I've been here for 17 years now, and I spend long hours here, sometimes late at night, even into the early morning, and touch wood, so far I've never been frightened by anything or anyone, and I've never really seen anything. I've heard things but never seen anything, whereas other people have seen things. Well, I live in the little cottage beside the gates, and in there, when I first, it doesn't happen now, but when I first moved in there, I had 7 cats, and my sitting room is on the upper level, and there wasn't one cat would walk across the landing into the sitting room. They would either jump onto the windowsill or walk along the banister and then jump into the sitting room. And if they missed the sitting room threshold, it was as if somebody was giving them a good kick up the bum. They would actually tumble into the sitting room. But that went on for a few years, where they wouldn't walk across the landing at all. And my partner has also seen a ghostly apparition, and he is a real sceptic, a ghostly apparition walk across the landing also. My colleague and I do all of the weddings here that take place at the old hall, and we often hear footsteps as if it's a late guest rushing round to come into the front door for the wedding. And of course we open the door to get them in quickly, and we open the door and there's no one there. So that happens quite regularly, actually. And we have been told by one videographer who videoed a wedding that he has orbs around the bride and groom, and also by another group who came in here with all of their equipment. They didn't know we did weddings, and when we told them we do weddings here, they were amazed by that, because they said, oh, that explains this ghost in particular who comes apparently to watch the weddings. So she could be the one that's the late guest rushing round coming through the front door.
There was a wedding that we were doing and the guests came up and said, I can't ask you about the history of the hall, and I thought it was going to be a history question, but it wasn't. And we went in and he went, I've got an impression of an old lady in the rocking chair. This was in the pond room. I went, oh, ghosts again, you know. And that's when he came up with this, but I don't see that wall. And I said, and that's when I said, well, it wouldn't have been there in the 19th century. It's a modern addition. He said, that ties in. He said, she's a boat from then, the 19th century. But she apparently, a visitor was in one day, and her handbag was yanked off her shoulder. It didn't just slip off. And she looked round thinking it was her husband or something like that. Nobody else in the room. So it must have been the old lady. And then Edith, the woman who used to work here and still pops in, she went through, had a belt or something on her clothes, and somebody actually pulled on the belt, as if she was being tugged around the room. So there's things happen that we can't explain. You know, the smells of lavender sometimes, and the doors shutting. So there's things happen. There's probably been somebody here from Anglo-Saxon times, so you're talking about 1,000 years possibly. Strange things have got to happen over 1,000 years that we'll never find out about. You know, there's not the records about them. So you just got to assume umpteen generations of umpteen people have lived here over 1,000 years. There's got to be something strange happened. You know, it's just like other places. Old properties have all got the ghosts, haven't they? Or rumoured to have the ghosts. I'll sit on the fence.